The Delaware River, December 25, 1776. Midnight. The water is not water. It is a churning, black sludge, choked with jagged plates of ice. They move like tombstones in a flood. The wind does not howl. It screams, a high-pitched shriek that tears through wool and flesh, straight to the bone. The snow is not a gentle blanket. It is a horizontal blizzard of needles, stinging the eyes, coating everything in a treacherous, ghostly white. And in the midst of this fury, a fleet of ghosts. They are not soldiers. Not anymore. They are shapes, huddled in long, shallow boats, their grips frozen to heavy oars. Their breath plumes in ragged gasps, instantly stolen by the gale. The only sounds are the groan of wood against ice, the frantic, whispered curses of men, and the relentless, deafening roar of the storm. In the lead boat, a massive figure stands. He is a colossus, 6'3", wrapped in a cloak that is stiff with ice. His face, grim and set, is turned towards the far shore, a featureless wall of darkness. General George Washington. His boots are soaked through. His legs are numb. He can feel the boat shudder with every impact, every slab of river ice that slams into its hull. One wrong move, one capsize in this liquid darkness, and it is not just a man that will be lost. It is an entire revolution. This is the image history has polished clean. A heroic tableau. A bold gamble. But on this night, it was something else entirely. It was a desperate, near-suicidal crime in the making. A heist, targeting the most professional army in the world, orchestrated by a force that was less an army and more a band of dying men. The fate of a nation, balanced on the knife's edge of a single, frozen river. And the target, nestled snug and unsuspecting in their winter beds, were the Hessian mercenaries at Trenton. They were celebrating Christmas. They never saw it coming. To understand the sheer, audacious madness of this crossing, you have to understand the depth of the despair that preceded it. The American Revolution, in the winter of 1776, was not a glorious cause. It was a corpse, twitching its last. We pull back from the frozen river to the months before. The stench of defeat is a physical presence. It smells of damp wool, unwashed bodies, and the coppery tang of blood on snow. The Continental Army is in tatters. They have been chased out of New York, humiliated, routed. They are a fleeing mob, leaving a trail of crimson footprints in the snow. Their enlistments are set to expire on December 31st. In 1 week, the army will simply cease to exist. The dream of independence will evaporate. The camera pans across the faces of these men. They are not the stern patriots of paintings. They are boys with hollow cheeks and old men with rheumy eyes. Their uniforms are rags. Many are without shoes. They wrap their feet in strips of cloth, leaving a trail of pink-stained snow behind them. They call them the Barefoot Army. Disease, typhoid, dysentery, sweeps through their camps like a scythe. The air is thick with the sound of coughing, a rattling, hopeless chorus. Their commander, George Washington, is a man besieged. He writes to his cousin, "I think the game is pretty near up." The weight of failure is crushing him. He knows he is outmatched. The British and their Hessian allies are a machine. Well-fed, well-drilled, professional. They move with the arrogant certainty of an inevitable victory. They are hunting him. Washington is cornered in Pennsylvania. Across the Delaware River, in New Jersey, the enemy has settled into winter quarters. They are confident. They believe the rebellion is all but crushed. The Hessian commander in Trenton, Colonel Johann Rall, is a brave, experienced, and notoriously arrogant officer. He receives warnings of a possible attack. He scoffs. He calls the American army nothing but a lot of farmers. He spends his days playing cards, his nights drinking. He tucks the unread warnings into his pocket. A fatal oversight. This is the context. This is the abyss. For Washington, it is no longer about winning a war. It is about survival. About one, single, dramatic act that can shock the world. That can convince his own men to stay. That can prove to a skeptical world that America still breathes. He needs a miracle. But since no miracle is forthcoming, he will have to create one himself. A violent, bloody miracle. The plan is born of this desperation. An attack on Trenton. On Christmas Day. The logic is as brutal as the weather. The Hessians will be celebrating. Their guard will be down. They will be lethargic from food and drink. It is the perfect psychological moment for a strike. But the plan is a house of cards, vulnerable to a single gust of wind. 3 forces are to cross the river at different points, converging on Trenton in a coordinated pincer movement. It is a complex military maneuver, requiring precision, timing, and communication. 3 moving parts, in the middle of a continent-spanning storm. It is a recipe for disaster. The atmosphere on the Pennsylvania shore, as the men gather on the afternoon of the 25th, is not one of patriotic fervor. It is one of grim resignation. The men are silent. They know the odds. They can feel the cold deepening. They watch the river, a seething, grey monster, and they know they have to cross it. The tools for this impossible task are Durham boats. Long, shallow draft vessels designed for hauling freight. They are not for soldiers. They are not for a blizzard. They are unstable, treacherous. The men clamber in, their muskets held above their heads. The boats are dangerously overloaded, the waterline mere inches from the gunwales. And then, the storm intensifies. This is not the gentle snowfall of a Christmas card. This is a nor'easter, a full-throated fury from the Atlantic. It brings not just snow, but sleet, and a driving, freezing rain that coats everything in a layer of impassable ice. The river, already choked, becomes a maelstrom. The current quickens. The ice flows thicken. The crossing is a special kind of hell. The oars are heavy, clumsy in numb hands. The boats are slammed by ice. The sound is like artillery fire. Men lean over the sides, using poles and their own frozen hands to push the blocks away. The wind steals shouts of warning. The black water beckons. To fall in is to die in minutes, your clothes pulling you under into the numb darkness. Washington stands in his boat, a statue of resolve, but his mind must be racing. He can see the other boat struggling, disappearing into the whiteout, being swept downstream. The coordination is shattered. The pincer movement is already a fantasy. He is alone, with whatever force he can get across. The hours tick by. The plan, meticulously drawn, is unraveling with every passing minute. They are behind schedule, dangerously behind. The cover of darkness, their only ally, is beginning to fade. Dawn is coming, and with dawn, discovery. The New Jersey shore is not a refuge. It is a freezing, muddy hell. The men stagger from the boats, their legs buckling beneath them. They are not an army. They are a collection of shivering, waterlogged spectres. The wind cuts through their soaked rags like a blade. The temperature is plummeting. Their powder is wet. A musket with wet powder is nothing more than a clumsy club. The entire attack, the entire gamble, hinges on this one variable. And it is failing before it has even begun. Panic begins to ripple through the officers. Whispers, frantic and hushed. It's over. We must turn back. To go forward is suicide. They are exposed, vulnerable, their primary weapon rendered useless. But then, a figure moves through the ranks. It is Washington. His face is a mask of ice, but his voice, when he speaks, is low and steady. It cuts through the wind. He does not give a grand speech. He gives an order. They will press on. They have come too far. There will be no turning back. The logistical nightmare begins. Marshalling thousands of half-frozen men, along with artillery horses and cannon, on a pitch-black, ice-slicked riverbank. The march to Trenton is 9 miles. 9 miles of frozen, rutted roads. 9 miles in a storm that shows no mercy. The column moves like a wounded animal, slow and stumbling. The snow deadens all sound, creating an eerie, oppressive silence broken only by the moan of the wind and the hacking coughs of sick men. Some of the barefoot soldiers leave a trail of blood in the snow, Their footprints a grim testament to their suffering. Men begin to fall, succumbing to exhaustion and the cold. They are left by the side of the road, their fate unknown. To stop is to die. Washington rides up and down the line, a massive, dark shape on his horse. His presence is the only thing holding the army together. He is a catalyst, a force of will imposing order on chaos. He knows every minute lost is a minute closer to dawn, closer to discovery. The element of surprise, their only advantage, is slipping through their frozen fingers. Meanwhile, in Trenton, the Hessian garrison sleeps. The town is quiet, blanketed in snow. Colonel Johann Röhl has spent his evening at a lively Christmas gathering. He has dismissed the rumors, the intelligence reports of American movement. He is a professional soldier, and he knows a defeated enemy when he sees one. He retires to his quarters, the unread warning note still tucked in his pocket. The sentries posted on the outskirts of town peer into the blinding storm. They see nothing. They hear nothing but the wind. They retreat into their guard posts, seeking what little warmth they can find. The storm, Washington's greatest enemy, has become his greatest ally. It is a cloak, muffling the approach of 1,600 men and their artillery. Back on the march, a new crisis emerges. The two other American forces, meant to cross the river at different points, have failed. The ice was too thick, the storm too violent. Washington does not yet know this. He marches forward believing he is one part of a three-pronged attack. In reality, he is alone. The entire weight of the revolution now rests on this single, isolated column. If they are defeated, there is no backup. There is no escape. It is victory or annihilation. The hours stretch on. The darkness begins to soften from pitch black to a deep, murky grey. Dawn is perhaps an hour away. They are still miles from Trenton. The tension is a physical wire, pulled taut. Officers glance at Washington, their faces etched with a silent question. Is it time to abort? He gives no sign. His gaze is fixed ahead, into the storm. Then, a halt. The column stops. A whisper is passed back from the vanguard. They have reached a crossroads. A farmhouse. Inside, a local farmer sympathetic to the cause. He is brought before Washington. The general needs information. The state of the garrison. Their alertness. The farmer's words are a spark in the darkness. The Hessians are quiet. No extra patrols. No alarm. They are completely unaware. A new energy, desperate and fierce, flows through the men. They are close. So close. The order is given. They will split into two columns, to attack the town from the north and the west. The final approach begins. They move faster now, a sense of grim purpose overriding their exhaustion. The snow continues to fall, but now it feels like a blessing, masking their final, silent advance on the sleeping town of Trenton. The first light of dawn begins to bleed into the sky, a sickly, grey smear. They can see the outlines of houses now. The church steeple. They load their muskets, their frozen fingers fumbling with the cartridges. The powder, miraculously, some of it is still dry, protected by the men who held it under their coats, against their skin. It is a final, fragile hope. They take their positions on the high ground overlooking the town. The streets are empty, silent. The Hessians are still in their beds. Washington sits on his horse, his eyes scanning the scene below. He raises his hand. For a moment, there is only the sound of the wind. Then, he drops it. The world explodes. The silence shatters. Not with a single shot, but with a thunderous, coordinated roar. American cannon, positioned on the high ground at the head of King and Queen Streets, open fire. Iron shot screams through the grey dawn, smashing into the Hessian guard posts, tearing through clapboard walls. The sound is deafening, a physical blow after the long, muffled silence of the march. For the Hessians, the world dissolves into chaos. The sound of celebration and sleep is replaced by the screams of horses and the shouts of panicked men. Colonel Röhl, jolted from his bed, stumbles to his window. He sees the impossible. an army materializing from the storm, flooding into the streets of his town. The warning note in his pocket is now a death sentence he never read. The American infantry, a wave of blue and brown-coated ghosts, pours into Trenton. They do not fight like a European army. They do not form neat lines in an open field. They fight from the shadows. They take cover behind fences, fire from the alleys between houses, from the windows of occupied buildings. It is a new kind of warfare, brutal, intimate, and confusing. The stench of battle is immediate and overwhelming. The acrid smell of black powder smoke, thick and choking, blots out the clean scent of snow. It mixes with the coppery tang of blood and the foul odor of torn earth and splintered wood. The sounds are a cacophony of terror, the sharp crack of muskets, the guttural shouts in German. And English, the screams of the wounded, the relentless, earth-shaking boom of the cannon. The Hessians are professionals. They do not break immediately. They scramble. They form ragged lines in the streets, their discipline a stark contrast to the American irregulars. But they are trapped. The American columns, attacking from multiple directions, have them in a vice. The storm has done its work too well. Their sentries were blind, their patrols recalled. They are fighting in their nightshirts, their uniforms still in their quarters. A pivotal moment unfolds on Queen Street. A unit of Hessians manages to form a battle line and begins a volley, a wall of lead that cuts down several advancing Americans. For a heart-stopping second, the American advance wavers. But then, a contingent of Virginians, flanking the Hessians, unleashes a devastating fire into their exposed side. The Hessian line crumples. Colonel Roll, now in his uniform, is a whirlwind of desperate energy. He mounts his horse, trying to rally his men, to organize a counterattack, to break out of the trap. He is a brave man, a good soldier in a bad situation not of his making. He leads a charge down King Street, directly into the mouth of an American cannon. The sound is different this time. Not the roar of a cannon firing, but the sickening thud of canister shot, hundreds of metal balls spraying like a shotgun, tearing into men and horses. Roll is hit twice. He slumps in his saddle, his white waistcoat suddenly blooming with crimson. His men carry him into a nearby church, now a makeshift hospital, the pews slick with blood. The heart of the Hessian resistance is dying on a hard, wooden bench. With Roll down, the Hessian command structure disintegrates. The fighting becomes fragmented, desperate pockets of resistance in a town that has become a slaughterhouse. The Americans, fueled by a fury born of months of defeat and humiliation, show little quarter. It is not a battle anymore. It is a rout. Hessian soldiers, dazed and disoriented, throw down their arms, surrendering in the streets, in houses, in stables. The entire engagement is brutally short. Less than an hour. In that time, the world has been turned upside down. The smoke begins to slowly clear, drifting up to meet the still falling snow. The sounds of battle are replaced by the moans of the wounded and the sharp, crisp orders of the victorious Americans. George Washington rides into the center of Trenton. The scene before him is one of utter devastation. Bodies lie in the churned-up snow, the red of Hessian uniforms a shocking contrast to the white. The air is thick with the smell of gunpowder and death. His men are ecstatic, looting the Hessian camps, gathering prisoners, their faces alight with a victory they had almost forgotten was possible. But Washington's face shows no triumph, only a profound, bone-deep exhaustion and the heavy weight of what comes next. He has won a battle, but he is still deep inside enemy territory. The British regulars, a far larger and more formidable force, are only a few miles away. They will have heard the cannon. They will be coming. He looks at his men, their rags, their blooded feet, their gaunt, hungry faces now lit with an unfamiliar hope. He has given them that. But the clock is still ticking. Their enlistments expire in 1 week. He has the prisoners, the captured supplies, the glory. But he needs to get his army, and his prizes, back across that unforgiving river before the British hammer falls. The victory at Trenton is complete. A stunning, almost impossible success. But as Washington surveys the carnage, He knows this is not the end. It is merely the end of the beginning. The real escape is about to begin. The silence after a battle is a different kind of sound. It is a hollow, ringing void filled with the whimpers of the wounded and the low, guttural cries of dying men. The triumphant shouts of the Continental soldiers are already fading, replaced by the grim, practical reality of their situation. They are standing in a conquered town, but they are standing in a trap. George Washington does not dismount. He remains on his horse, a statue of ice and resolve in the town square, his eyes scanning the periphery of Trenton. The storm, their faithful, brutal ally, is finally beginning to relent. The snow falls more gently now, but this is a curse in disguise. The clearing air means visibility is returning. It means the sound of their cannonade would have carried for miles. Somewhere out there, British commanders are being roused from their warm beds. Reports are being delivered. A response is being mobilized. The spoils of victory are counted with a frantic, desperate speed. Over 900 Hessian prisoners are rounded up, their faces a mixture of shock, shame, and cold. They are herded together, a sea of red and blue uniforms in the trampled snow. The American sees a treasure trove: muskets, barrels of flour, kegs of rum, and, most precious of all, artillery. 6 brass cannons are captured, their cold metal soon to be turned against their former owners. But every captured musket, every prisoner, is another mouth to feed, another body to guard, another weight slowing down their retreat. Washington makes a swift, brutal calculation. The captured rum is dumped into the snow. Discipline must be maintained. There will be no repeat of the drunken chaos that could invite a counterstrike. He barks orders, his voice hoarse but firm. Prepare to move. Now. The men are exhausted. The euphoria of their victory is a fleeting warmth in their frozen bones. The march to Trenton had been a trial. The march back to the river, with prisoners and loot in tow, with the spectre of the British Army at their backs, promises to be an ordeal of a different magnitude. But they obey. They have seen what this man can do. They have seen the impossible made real. The column forms again, a strange, elongated serpent now, swollen with its human plunder. They begin the slow, agonizing trek back towards the Delaware. The pace is maddeningly slow. The prisoners, many without proper shoes or coats, stumble through the snow. The wounded Americans are carried on makeshift litters. Their groans a constant, mournful soundtrack. The captured cannon, priceless and ponderous, are dragged by exhausted men and underfed horses. Every minute feels like an hour. Every glance over a shoulder is a search for the telltale glint of British bayonets on the horizon. Back at the Delaware, the scene is one of its own special kind of hell. The river, if possible, looks even more malevolent. The temporary bridge of ice that had formed during the night has been shattered by the day's slightly warmer temperatures. The water is a churning, black slurry, filled with even larger, more dangerous ice floes that grind together with a sound like grinding bones. The boats are there, but the men who had poled them across, the Marbleheaders, are on the verge of collapse. They have had no rest, no respite. Their hands are raw, bleeding meat. Their bodies are pushed beyond human limits. And now they face the prospect of loading this swollen, sluggish column back into the unstable Durham boats and repeating the nightmare crossing, this time in daylight, with a frantic urgency that threatens to breed fatal mistakes. The first boats are loaded, dangerously overloaded. They push off into the current. The crossing is, if anything, more terrifying than the night before. The daylight exposes the true fury of the river. They can see the massive, submerged chunks of ice, like white leviathans, waiting to capsize a boat. They can see the far shore, a tantalizing promise of safety that seems to grow no closer. The process is agonizingly slow. Boat by boat, load by load. Hours pass. The bulk of the army and the prisoners are still on the New Jersey side. The sun, a pale, weak disk, begins to sink below the horizon. The temperature plummets again, freezing the slush on the banks, making every step a potential fall. And then, from the rear of the column, a mounted scout gallops up, his horse lathered in sweat and frost. He rides straight to Washington. His report is delivered in a breathless, terrified rush. The British are coming. A large force under General Cornwallis is advancing from Princeton. They are mere hours away. They have recovered from the shock. Their vengeance will be swift and absolute. A cold dread, colder than the river, colder than the wind, seizes the men on the bank. They are caught. They have achieved a miraculous victory, only to be annihilated on the riverbank. Panic begins to spread, a contagion more dangerous than any musket ball. Men push towards the boats, a mindless, surging tide of fear. Washington does not shout. He does not draw his sword. He rides his horse to the water's edge, placing his massive frame between the panic and the boats. His presence alone is a dam. His voice, when he speaks, is calm, carrying over the din steady, men. Steady. We will all cross. Form orderly lines. His calm is a superhuman act. It is the only thing holding the army together. He directs the loading personally, a symphony conductor in a hurricane. The cannon are prioritized, then the prisoners, then the wounded. The fit soldiers will be the last to cross. It is a staggering gamble on their discipline. They must stand on that shore, watching the boats depart, knowing the British Army is marching towards them, and trust that their commander will not abandon them. The final boat loads as full darkness descends. The last of the Continentals, including Washington himself, step into the Durham boat. They push off. Behind them, the New Jersey shore is dark and empty. Before them, the Pennsylvania shore is lined with the flickering lights of campfires, a galaxy of tiny, hopeful stars. As Washington's boat finally scrapes onto the Pennsylvania mud, a great, collective sigh seems to rise from the entire army. They have done it. They have stolen a victory from the jaws of defeat, and then stolen their entire army from the jaws of certain destruction. But the cost is counted in the quiet that follows. The frozen bodies of those who succumbed on the march, left behind in the snow. The wounded who will not see the morning. The absolute, utter exhaustion that has seeped into the very marrow of every survivor. They have won a battle, not the war. But they have won something far more precious, a future. The spark of the revolution, all but extinguished on Christmas morning, is now a flickering, determined flame. 1 week later, nearly every man in that army, their enlistments up, would choose to stay. They would follow this man back across that same river to fight again, because they had seen a miracle, and they had learned that their commander was not just a leader of men. He was a maker of them.